What if God made your odds worse, to make your faith stronger? No swords raised, just torches, trumpets, and trust. Gideon's shout still echoes, a sword for the Lord. Sometimes your jar must break before your light can burn. Least in his family, weakest clan, God said, "Go in the strength you have." Gideon did, and history changed. This is the story of Gideon, the mighty warrior. Stay to the end to see the one choice Gideon made that became a national snare. Judges chapter 6 to chapter 8.
He crouched inside a winepress, an unlikely place to thresh wheat, where the wind could not carry away the chaff. And more importantly, the Midianite raiders could not see the dust plume that would betray him. Every strike of his flail was a compromise, less efficient, more secret. 7 years of Midianite oppression had taught Israel to be clever and quiet. The people hid their grain in caves, their hope in whispers. From above the winepress, sunlight pooled in a circle. Dust hung in that circle like a blessing withheld. Gideon paused to wipe sweat from his brow and glanced toward the ridge where riders sometimes appeared, like teeth on the horizon. "The Lord has forsaken us," he muttered, not because he was sure, but because fear likes company.
"Mighty warrior."
The voice didn't belong in a winepress. It didn't belong in Gideon's careful, shrunken world. He looked up and saw a man sitting under the oak at Ophrah, where his father Joash's fields began. The stranger's eyes were like a steady fire, soft but inarguable.
"The Lord is with you, mighty warrior,"
the stranger repeated. Gideon stammered, standing halfway between reverence and sarcasm.
"If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened? Where are the wonders our fathers told us about? He brought us out of Egypt, so they say. But now look at us."
The man stood and the air tightened with weight.
"Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?"
Gideon felt the old ache of inadequacy rise.
"Please, my lord,"
he said.
"how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house."
He didn't say, "I'm comfortable hiding. I'm practiced at it."
"I will be with you,"
the stranger said, as though that answered everything.
"You will strike Midian as if they were one man."
The promise was too large to hold all at once. Gideon did what a careful man does. He asked for time, brought an offering, and watched. Fire flared from the rock at a touch of the staff in the stranger's hand. Bread and meat sizzled into smoke. Gideon fell forward, terror flaying him open. Only then did he realize who had visited him. The angel of the Lord, the invisible made visible, a mercy on 2 legs. Gideon built an altar and named it.
"The Lord is peace."
Not because there was peace yet, but because peace had found him. That night, obedience arrived with sharp instructions. Gideon was to tear down his father's Baal altar and cut the Asherah pole beside it, then build an altar to the Lord and offer a bull upon it. He did it, quietly under stars with 10 servants and 12 shovelfuls of trembling. The morning brought outrage. Men of the town demanded his death. Joash, who had once tended Baal like a guest you fear to offend, discovered a clean spine.
"Will you contend for Baal? If he is a god, let him contend for himself,"
Joash said. And Gideon acquired a new name, Jerubbaal, let Baal contend, as if to say, let every false god try. Oppression knows when it's being insulted. Midian and Amalek swarmed into the valley of Jezreel like locusts, camels darkening the plains. The Spirit of the Lord clothed Gideon like a mantle, like a breath, and he blew a ram's horn. Men came, first from Abiezer, then from Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, Naphtali. Yet as the campfires multiplied, Gideon's doubts seeped back like groundwater. He laid out a fleece.
"If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said,"
he whispered.
Let there be dew only on the fleece and dryness on the ground.
Morning came, and he wrung a bowlful of water from wool, while dust kissed the earth around it. He winced at his own audacity and asked again. This time the fleece dry, the ground wet. God did not scold. He answered. Assurance layered itself in Gideon's heart, not to excuse fear, but to convert it into trust. At dawn, with an army of 32,000, Gideon listened in disbelief as God narrowed the ranks.
Announce to the people, any who are fearful may return home.
22,000 men, suddenly honest, turned and walked away. 10,000 remained. Too many, God said, lest Israel boast. Down to the water they went, and there Gideon watched how men drank. Those who scooped water to their mouths with their hands, alert and eyes up, were 300. The rest knelt with faces plunged to the stream.
With the 300,
God said,
I will save you.
That night the Lord sent Gideon to listen at the edge of the enemy camp. He slipped through broom shrubs and acacias, heart beat loud in his throat, and crouched behind a tent where 2 Midianite sentries traded fatigue instead of jokes.
I had a dream.
One murmured.
A loaf of barley bread tumbled into our camp. It struck a tent, and it collapsed.
The other answered.
This can be nothing but the sword of Gideon son of Joash. God has given Midian into his hand.
It is a strange moment when you overhear your enemies prophesying your victory. Gideon's fear broke like a jar. He returned to camp a different man, not bigger, but truer, wide open to the promise spoken over him. He gave every man a trumpet, an empty jar, and a torch hidden inside the jar. No swords, no chariots, only sound and light and timing. Around the camp they spread in 3 companies, 100 each, circling the sleeping sea of Midian. At the signal, the night fractured. 300 jars shattered like lightning turned to sound. 300 torches roared awake. 300 horns shrieked a single cry. A sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Panic traveled faster than daylight. Midianites stumbled from tents and cut down their own brothers in confusion. Camels screamed. Commanders shouted names and directions and prayers to gods who did not answer. The army broke, scattering east toward the Jordan. Gideon called the tribes to pursue. Ephraim seized the fords and captured princes, Oreb and Zeb, Wolf and Raven, whose names tasted like old fear. Israel tasted courage instead. But victory strains men as much as fear does. Exhausted and famished, Gideon's 300 chased the kings Zebah and Zalmunna beyond the Jordan. They asked bread from Succoth and Penuel and were refused by cautious leaders who preferred to wait and see who would win. Gideon's jaw tightened. His promise to return and repay them had the chill of a coming wind. He pressed on, surprised his enemies at Karkor, and took the kings alive. He returned with ropes and the steadiness of a man who has done hard math and finished the problem. Succoth learned that refusing to aid the Lord's deliverance has a cost. Penuel learned it too. Gideon faced the captured kings and asked about the men they had killed at Tabor.
They were like you,
The kings said.
each one like a prince.
They were Gideon's brothers. Justice, long delayed, arrived. The kings died, and their crescents and ornaments, symbols of borrowed glory, fell into Gideon's hands. Israel, wild with relief, approached Gideon with the offer that had tempted better men.
Rule over us, you, your son, and your grandson, for you have saved us from Midian.
Gideon remembered the winepress, the angel, the fire on the rock, the voice that had taught him true arithmetic.
I will not rule over you,
He said.
nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord will rule over you.
It was a clean answer, the right one, and yet even the right answer can be followed by a misstep. Gideon asked for gold earrings from the spoils and fashioned an ephod, a priestly garment turned object, which he placed in Ophrah. Perhaps he wanted a memorial, something beautiful to say.
God met us here.
But Israel soon treated it as a sacred thing to be adored rather than a reminder to worship the invisible. The gift turned into a snare, an unintended altar to the past. For the rest of Gideon's life, the land had peace, 40 years of it. He had many sons, and the roads were empty of camel's dust and Midianite laughter. He died in a bed that wasn't a battlefield, an old man with calloused hands and a name that meant, for a shining season, let false gods try. After he was gathered to his fathers, the story of Gideon teaches us that God calls ordinary people, grows their faith through obedience, and wins battles his way, not ours. But it also warns us that after victory, we must stay humble and keep God at the center, or even our blessings can become idols.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for another amazing Bible story.